The cookies are done. It's gotten dark out. And I came across a really random thing that I have to ask about before we get into the cookies. Can of pumpkin. Serving size, 1/2 cup. You think maybe 2 cups? No. Servings per container, about 3.5. So I thought, okay, maybe it's by weight. Net weight, 15 ounces. Also not a standard size. This means, of course, that in doubling the recipe and needing 2 cups, I have a whole bunch of pumpkin left over. I don't get it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a plastic baggie, put it in the fridge, and probably use it when I make a pumpkin pie later this month. I just don't understand. Anyway, enough of that. Pumpkin cookies. Soft, old-fashioned soft pumpkin cookies. They are not lying. One thing they did lie about, they lied about how many cookies you get. Now I realize my scoop is probably smaller than they were talking about, but it said that you'd get about 3 dozen with a regular size batch. I got 11 dozen because I doubled it, so that means I got 5.5, which means almost twice as many as they said I'd get. Obviously my scoop size is not a tablespoon. So, but they're a really cute cookie. They're still, about 1.5 inches across, and they're a little pillowy thing. They did firm up nicely in the oven, so they turned out really well. Nice golden brown bottom. You can see they're glazed. I don't glaze pretty. People are like, well, how do you? I've had people say to me, well, what do you do? Well, when I'm doing this, I literally take my spatula and go back and forth, and as you can tell in the video, it's not that pretty, but it works. And then people get a choice of how much glaze they want. They can have a lot, or they can have a drizzle, or they can have a downpour. It's their choice. It's variety. But the cookies themselves, so made with 1-for-1 Bob's Red Mill 1-for-1 gluten-free baking flour. Gluten-free flours can, if you've never used them before, they have a tendency occasionally to be a little bit gritty because of the rice flour. The rice flour just doesn't react the same as wheat flours do. So let's see. Breaking it apart, ooh, really pretty texture. Can you see in there? Air pockets and the whole thing, yeah. I mean, really nice. They did really good things in the oven. Let's see about the texture. I'm happy to say they're not really gritty, like at all. I think it might be because of all the extra moisture from the pumpkin, or the sugar, because there's actually more sugar than pumpkin in the recipe. You can taste it a little bit, you can feel a little bit on the back of your tongue, but for the most part you don't notice it at all. I've been working with gluten-free flours for years, so I kind of am more attuned to it. I think if you weren't paying attention to it, you wouldn't ever know it was there. So I will say, if you're looking for something gluten-free for some of your friends this time of year, even up to Christmas, when people are having Christmas cookies and you're not making gluten-free cookies for them, I suggest these. These turned out really well. Nobody would ever know they're gluten-free if you don't tell them. One of the other things you might have noticed, the glaze is not a pure white, which you might expect if you're using milk and powdered sugar. If you were paying attention, I did add cinnamon to this because a standard white glaze doesn't really do much for me. But I thought a little cinnamon would go well with the cookie. Speaking of things that go well with the cookie, I might suggest like a pumpkin spice latte or a chai latte with blah, 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 with extra fluffernuss. I don't drink any of those things, I'm sorry. I'm sure they're lovely. But, so for me, it's a really nice glass of cold milk. Because I'm thinking, pumpkin flavors, milk, you're basically getting your pumpkin pie and whipped cream all in one, right? Just have to make sure that the glaze doesn't dissolve into your glass of milk, which wouldn't be such a bad thing, but you know. Sorry, it's really good. It definitely does the pumpkin pie thing. So, before this gets too much longer, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to finish glazing these because some of them are a little light on the glaze. I'm going to cover them with wax paper for the evening so that they don't dry out, but they do solidify. And then send them off to work with Christopher tomorrow. And I will see you next week, possibly having figured out what to do with the tomatoes, and possibly not. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. And in the meantime, cheers.